Oh, now we start to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to be picking some of them panels apart, shaping some metal, and showing you some of the skills involved with this part of the process. Grant will be showing you some of his skills, and I'll be explaining some of the ways in which we do stuff and why we do it that way. In particular the metal and what sort of metal to use. Oh yeah. One more thing. As you may have noticed, the rust stains that are starting, you can see down through here, all in these areas. Look, this is going to happen. Now, if you're anything like me, and you've got a full-time job as well, you've got a family, people who depend on you, you can't be working on your pride and joy all the time. So it's going to take months, possibly years, for you to get to all these bits. I have not put enough etch on purpose. I've given it one coat all over, which is what a lot of people do, and it's not right. So in doing so, I am showing you that it doesn't last that long. This has been in the weather, and it's not faring up too well because I did not put enough etch on. Now, it's still protected in main areas, and that's fine. But give it the amount of coats that is recommended by the manufacturer, and you won't have this problem. If you do, it's only going to be minimal, and it's going to be the areas where you're going to cut the rust out anyway, so it'll be fine. So don't stress about it. Each part you go along with, use a handheld sandblaster and just cookie.
And so how did you make that piece, Grant? Can you show us what you used?
You've got to put a patch in here, you've got to put a patch there, you know, you've got to come over and make this little bit here, and then you've got to put a piece down there, a piece down there, and by the end of it, you've got all this welding, a heap of grinding, and it's probably faster just to make another piece, and you've got a nicer piece instead of having welds every which way anyway. So I just kind of figured with this, I might as well just kill 4 birds in one stone and just make it. First I made the pattern. You put the paper on and it tells you exactly where your swages are and wherever any lines are, and that way you don't have to get out your ruler and measure the distance between everything.
So a bit of tracing paper works a treat.
Pretty much.
Trade Mum's cupboard where the baking paper is.
And then you just transfer that onto the steel.
So because it's flexible, it'll go around the sides. You mark the sides. When it pulls out, you've got the right width, because all of that.
Yeah.
See, it's not the width from there to there. It's you've got to add that, and that.
And I went along with the air hammer and then put some shape into here. It's called pre-stretching, because what happens when you run this through the bead roller, it wants to pull the material, and that's okay if you're running a bead from one side completely to the other, because the whole thing will fold up, but because you're stopping here and here, it's going to bunch up. There's going to be too much material here and here. Okay. So if you stretch this first and then you put it through the bead roller, it won't pull as much on the outside and the whole panel won't buckle as much.
Yeah, rightio. So what would you use if you don't have one of these things?
You can use a hammer on a block of wood or into a sandbag, or go out and do it in a bit of dirt or something. Something that's going to take the impact and help, give the steel somewhere to stretch into.
Yep.
And then there's a couple of ways that you can put these swages in. I use the bead roller.
Yep.
But like Dennis said, you can use a piece of flat bar that's the right size.
Oh, yes.
And kind of just either tack it on or tape it on, and then flip it upside down and just get a chisel or something. It's a good idea to blunt the end of the chisel off, otherwise you might cut through the steel.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Blunt kind of. And or you can just hammer it out by hand, just with a hammer into a sandbag, and then just go along with a hammer and dolly and fix up the edges. But that's probably the
and that's metal working for you. Nice.
Pretty much it.
Oh yeah, there's a great.
Something like that'll work really well.
Yeah.
Bricky's fun.
Bricky's bolster, yeah.
So you go next door and steal your neighbour's bricky's bit.
And then when you turn these flanges here, because the way the material is, that's like that. So when that comes over, it needs to stretch out.
Yep.
So there's a few ways you can do that. You can either cut it and bring it out and then weld it back up, or I just stretched it, so I just got a hammer and stretched it onto a piece of steel. You've got to be careful though, because that can thin the metal as well.
Yeah, righto.
And then I went over and I made up this die for the air hammer is just a lineal stretching die. So you kind of put that in there like that, and then as that goes up and down, it can stretch it.
Yeah, righto.
And then because this one up here is the opposite, so when it comes over, it wants to overlap.
Yep.
So you can either cut it and weld it again, or you can shrink it. So I stack shrinked it just with put a dolly there, clamped it to the table, and then shrunk it by hand. Or you can use a shrinker stretcher, but you don't have one of them.
Now he's getting really technical. How clever is that?
When you get the vibration, won't do you no good, won't do you no good. You gotta start rolling when you hear the man calling. Won't do you no good, it won't do you no good. Oh, you don't mind, you don't mind, hell, never mind. Them all right. Let the feeling come take you. It won't do you no good. It won't do you no good. You know I got fever. So when you hit me right, might as well. It won't do you no good. Say it won't do you no good. And I said, kiss your baby goodbye. Come on, love is alright. Heaven knows they wanna break you apart. Yeah, kiss your baby goodbye. Come on, love is alright. The vibration won't do you no good, won't do you no good. You can tell I got fever. You try to shake it off, try it all you want. It won't do you no good, and it won't do you no good. And I said, kiss your baby goodbye. Come on, love, it's alright. Heaven knows they wanna break you apart. Kiss your baby goodbye. Come on now, it's alright. You never know unless you give it a try. Oh, yeah. No, baby.
As you know, we've filmed a little bit of this one previously, and all, you know, Rescue a Wreck is all about rescuing. And at that stage, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I just knew that I couldn't let it waste away. Nice straight sides, it's good. It's got its points that need to be repaired, but it is a good vehicle. Now, a fella who's buying this knows exactly what's involved. He's had panel vans before and wants to recreate something special out of this one. So we thought, not a problem at all. So we decided to pass it on to him to keep the process going and restore this beautiful old car to the way it was, or to whatever standard he chooses. And that's what Rescue a Wreck is all about. Saving them, rescuing them, either doing them up here to whatever degree someone wants, or passing them on to someone else so that they can do it. Off she goes to a better home and a better life.